now that Barack Obama has announced that there will be a discussion, a debate, and a vote in Congress, the question arises, is it likely to pass? And politicians are starting to line up on both sides, announcing their support or their opposition to these strikes. We've got some bulk numbers and some great videos of people announcing their intentions. First of all, let's talk about this Think Progress analysis. They contacted as many congressmen as they could. They went through their public statements on Syria, and they've broken down the numbers. So this is graphic one, Amir. You see here that there are 141 lawmakers who have made it publicly clear that they are against military intervention in Syria, 44 in favor, so pretty lopsided numbers there, and 65 who have not yet made it clear in their statements or have said that they haven't yet decided. Now, if we turn to the American public, we've got a more recent...
Can I say something about that number?
Sure, of course.
That number you just showed, so if you take all the congressmen who say they're in favor of it and all the congressmen who are undecided, you add those two numbers together, they still don't add up to enough congressmen to pass it, which you need 218, correct?
Right, but give them a chance, because already things are changing today.
Okay, all right.
Yes, and that
unfortunately,
they were not able to poll all of them there. That doesn't include the entire group. But we have Pew Research did a poll of the American public. What do you think about potential intervention in Syria, and particularly the format that it seems like it's going to go forward in? Limited strikes that could possibly snowball into something greater later on. And so in general terms, 48% oppose airstrikes in Syria, whereas 29% support it. And what's interesting is that if you break that down along party lines, you see that the Dems that were polled evenly split and evenly support and oppose it. So they're pretty down the line. They don't exactly know where they're going to go, and they will probably fall to propaganda over the next week or so. Now, the Republicans, on the other hand, 35% are in support of the airstrikes, whereas 40% are against it. I would say that that's the Barack Obama effect, because I think that if it was a Republican president that was in power right now, there's no way they would be more against it than for it.
So just political opportunism.
Oh, definitely, I think.
You know, because I think that's great that at least we'll get these guys on the record with their votes. And, you know, when you look at the idea of them putting their names to their votes, you know, the idea that if Obama defines them, let's say that Congress goes ahead and says, no, you cannot do this, we do not authorize military airstrikes, Obama says, I go forward, well, then you have an additional political calculation after that. That kind of opens him up for impeachment proceedings, doesn't it?
And is there any question? First off, I absolutely think they're going to vote yes. I have no doubt in my mind. But if they were to vote no, Obama, they have to do this no matter what, because he's already made a point of saying, I can do it. Even John Kerry at the hearing today said, we can do it. But not only that, they've put so much credibility of the United States. They have made such a case today. They were saying, if we don't do this, then what are we going to do about North Korea and Hezbollah and Iran? So they've made such a case for this that we would actually look ludicrous if we didn't do it. And it's so sad that a war can be fought over a comment about a red line and then hubris, which is seemingly what's happening.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm definitely on the same side as you. I think that the chances of the vote being positive in favor of conflict or engaging in conflict in Syria, I think that that's incredibly high. I think that when you look at, let's go to one of the most influential men in Congress right now, John Boehner. He was speaking about this, and he seems very clear that he's going to be supporting Barack Obama's plan.
The United States, for our entire history, has stood up for democracy and freedom for people around the world. The use of these weapons have to be responded to, and only the United States has the capability and the capacity to stop Assad and to warn others around the world that this type of behavior is not going to be tolerated. I appreciate the President reaching out to me and my colleagues in the Congress over the last couple of weeks. I also appreciate the President asking the Congress to support him in this action. This is something that the United States as a country needs to do. I'm going to support the President's call for action. I believe that my colleagues should support this call for action.
So we saw last week you had Nancy Pelosi saying that she thinks we should do it, and now Boehner. I mean, that's bipartisanship in the House at the very least. And if nothing else, it seems like a pretty savvy political move by Barack Obama to go through this, because we were saying before, last week, that if he didn't go through Congress, we could see the statements already starting to creep up of politicians looking like, man, if this messes up, we're going to so use it against him. But now he's getting them on the record. And people like John Boehner, I mean, that might be a good move in the long term, at least for Barack Obama, possibly not for the civilians of Syria, but for the president.
So does anyone think the real reason that we're going into this, or we're going to do this, is because Barack Obama's really upset about the chemical weapons? Is that really the reason?
I think it
seems crazy that would be the reason.
I think it's the reason. I think it's enforcing international norms.
I think it's his hubris.
Well,
I think it's his.
think?
He made a calculated mistake. He said the red line thing a year ago, and he put the United States' credibility on the line. Not just his credibility, he put the United States' credibility. And I'm not defending him. Over the course of the last year, he should have done things so that it didn't get to this point. There's a lot we could have done actually with the UN, or done more humanitarian things, or talked to the Arab League, which everyone thinks is so important suddenly. They've never done anything ever, but now they're very important. Well, we could have talked to them and said, can you guys open up your borders and maybe help some of these people not be refugees and become citizens if they're your brothers? But nobody said anything, and now he's gotten to his red line.
I mean, I think he could have got out of it. So if you say it's about the red line, that kind of sounds like it's really not about chemical weapons. It's more about his ego, or about our face, saving face around the world, right?
I don't even think it necessarily has much to do with that particular statement. Like, it certainly makes it more personal for Barack Obama, but it wasn't him saying we have a red line that establishes prohibition against the use of chemical weapons. I mean, we've had this for a fairly long time. And I personally think that...
We enforce it, John. We didn't enforce it with...
This is true.
We selectively enforce it.
That's true. I would say that if something is being selectively enforced, let's enforce it wherever possible then. Like, not enforcing it in this case would be, again, selectively enforcing it because of the possibility of getting involved in some protracted conflict in Syria. Like, we have to decide as both a nation, and we will have that discussion in Congress, but also as a world population of humans, are we for or against the use of these weapons? And let's put this in really, I apologize, this will be fast. In a historical perspective, we have had prohibitions against certain types of weapons for about 1% of the time span that humans have been on Earth.
Right.
Prior to about 120 years ago, you could do whatever you want, whenever you want. And even as late as, I believe, 1899, when they first tried to ban chemical weapons, the United States refused to sign it. I think that this is something that is very much worth fighting for, because I don't know what conflicts of the future will look like, what nations they'll involve. And if it means us possibly killing a few people in Syria, I mean, that's the calculus that needs to go on.
Yeah.
But maybe there are other options, and that's what we're not talking about or hearing about at this particular juncture. So there will be discussion in the Congress about, are we going to have our Congress authorize this? And then I guess it has to move to the United Nations, and the United Nations will have to have this discussion. Is the evidence more than circumstantial? Are there other alternatives, diplomatic alternatives, peaceful negotiations? I saw, I think it was Talking Points memo made reference to Lebanon and how that eventually peaceful negotiations led to an agreement that the UN monitored, and they had a ceasefire, and it's still been, however many, 15, 20 years now that they've been trying to recover their country from this. But that kind of worked in a very bumpy road kind of way.
Yeah, but
what are our other options?
Well, that's why this is so obviously about the war machine, because we could stop right now today and say, you know what, Assad, you have 2 weeks. Right now, we have all our ships there, we're ready to do this. You have 2 weeks. All you have to do is give up your chemical weapons. If we're not doing regime change anyway, and we're just going to bomb a bunch of empty buildings, you got 2 weeks. Give up your weapons. We're not going to take you out of power. We're not even threatening that. We're going to bomb a Starbucks. Yeah, you can keep power, you can keep all your stuff, but give up chemical weapons, if that's what this is really about. So that's why,
it's
again...
not just about taking them away after they're used. It's about setting a precedent that if you use them, you will be punished in a significant fashion.
Well,
that's the only way to stop future regimes from using them.
Right, but so that would be a threat. We'd be making a military threat, which our military people would like, and then we'd be getting a actual return on it. Right now, we're saying we're going to bomb you and then get out, but we don't know what happens. What if he launches missiles at Turkey or at Israel, and then they respond? Is that a war? I'm pretty sure that would be a war,
What are
right?
the international repercussions for committing torture?
None, apparently.
Apparently none. There's only certain war crimes that we're upset about sometimes, not all the time. So that's why I think it's all bullshit, John. I agree that chemical weapons are horrible. They're a special kind of atrocity, but not that much more special. It's just like when John Kerry said, it's so morally reprehensible that when you look at these dead bodies without a trace of blood on them, you know something horrible happened there. So yes, if you're going to kill people, do the decent thing and blow their fucking heads off.
Yeah.